All right, let's look at a trade review here of ticker symbol AMZN. This is Amazon. And you can already look at the chart right now and see that this was a fantastic trade. Yesterday in the trade review, I went over a trade that I talked about it being just a base hit, and that's what we shoot for, but sometimes home runs happen. And this is a prime example of that happening, that we weren't looking for a home run, but it did end up happening, and we'll get into that in just a minute. So it came up on the scanners the end of yesterday, right here, and we were very bearish on it. And so immediately upon seeing it, after when I first pulled it up, my gut was saying, I love this trade. But I have, just to make a note of this for yourself, is that just because I really liked the way it looked, I have done that to trades before and then gotten burned because I just liked the way it looked. However, there wasn't really much support or resistance that backed it up. So even though I really liked the way this was looking, where we had, kind of a double bottom right here, and then it kind of failed to continue higher and break this high. So it appeared that we were creating a lower high right here. However, I still needed to make sure that we had some form of support or resistance. And as far as horizontal support or horizontal resistance, there really wasn't any. However, when we begin looking, we can see this downtrend here. And then when we draw in, wrong drawing tool. Sorry about that. Let's switch over to the trend line. So the way I drew it in was I first put a point at the top of the signal, at the top of that high, and then just pulled it to the left and kind of could see that we are looking really good. I'm really liking the way this trend line is looking. We've got, it hit it here, kind of there, but not really. It's too close to that initial starting point. Came down, pulled to it, hence right after that point, then that is when that trend line is created. Came down a lot and then came back up straight to it within just, it got very close to hitting it again, came down, and that is right where we were bouncing at. So we're bouncing at this trend line, and this took place over the course, it started, that first point happened in, March, the end of March. So I did have this as a major trend line for me and for Armor Trading Systems. And we were bouncing right at that 50 as well, or pretty close to it. So this was a river to valley setup. Let's zoom in. So again, there's our signal. That's what we were basing our trade off of. And what we needed to see. So we just went over support and resistance. You see, I was bearish on it. We had good technical analysis that backed up our thinking and backed up our signal for a bearish move. And all we needed to do was the next day see it break our trigger, which was we needed to see it break 112.70. So up here, I needed to see it print 112.69 in order for me to get in. And it did do that. And it took it a while. I can't remember the exact time. We'll look at it in just a minute when we jump into the 1 minute chart, but it was within, I think it was like 30 to 40 minutes after the market opened that this triggered. We'll check and know for certain in just a little bit. But so once it did trigger, it was just a beautiful trade, awesome trade, worked out fantastic. And now, as far as exit strategies go, if you're looking to exit into a previous area of support or resistance, let's see, there was really nothing that really intrigued me. Maybe right here where we had this previous gap and this high right here. So maybe in that level right in there, you could have taken some. That would have been the only spot that I was really looking at, because I wasn't expecting it to get all the way down to here. It would have been amazing if it did. And if it did, that would have been a great place to exit. But even right here, if you were exiting into a previous support level, right there, that is, we see, look over here, right here, 10, right around 109, and our trigger, remember, was 112.70, where we needed to see it break that. So we're talking almost, what is that, 112, almost 4 points to that area right there. pretty close to 4 points. That would have been fine. That would have been fantastic. Uh, Another way you could exit is just having your stop set that we go over in the mornings, or once it triggers. First, obviously, enter the trade, and then set your stop. And the stop, I always go over my stops in the morning in the war rooms at armortrading.com, and set the stop and then just let it ride. And as it becomes profitable, you can begin moving your stop so that you don't let a losing or a winning trade become a loser, and you can just keep letting it ride, take profit as you want to, or just close it at the end of the day. Uh, and that obviously would have been an amazing way to trade this one. We see the close up here is at 107.40. That is, what is that? $5.30 roughly, depending on when you got filled, is what you could have gotten on this trade, which is amazing. That's just a fantastic trade. Wonderful trade. So the other way of our other exit strategy would be to scalp it. And remember, 112.70 is what we're looking for. Let's see. We need to see it print 112.69. And that happened actually right here in this candle. We see, if you look up here, the low right there was at 112.70. So it was exactly at our trigger. We need to see it break. And that happened the next minute at 10:07. 10:07, it broke, and it broke pretty quickly. And once it did, it was just, I mean, straight downhill from there. Even if you got filled at a really bad fill, I mean, that would be horrendous. If you got filled right there, that would be about as bad as it could get. As bad as a slippage as I have ever seen would be, 50 cents or so. If you got filled right there, you still really didn't have much to worry about. Over the next few minutes, it went against that point right there, just 30 to 40 cents, and then it was just straight downhill from there. And it was beautiful. So going short on this was definitely the right call, and it worked out great, even from a scalping standpoint. Now, I will say, for me, the way that I entered this is that when it's pushed up, it's kind of just hovering along here. Somewhere in this area, I did set a conditional order, and I've got videos on conditional orders in the arsenal at armortrades.com, going over conditional orders and how to set them and everything. So I actually did set a conditional order to, when price broke 11 or $112.70 to enter. So even though it broke pretty quick, because I had that conditional order waiting, I still got a pretty good fill. And I can't remember the exact number, but it was somewhere right in here, like in the 112.60s is when where I got filled at. And it worked out great. This is as stress free of a trade as it gets, especially when you have a trade that triggers this late in the morning. Yeah, I always, for me personally, I usually feel pretty good, because when it triggers this late, usually that early morning, crazy price action doesn't really look like it here, but early mornings we know can have crazy price action, and when it triggers this late, it's past that really volatile time of the morning, and I felt really confident about it, and it just proved to be strong. Or actually, the trade proved to be strong. The price action proved to be weak, which is what we thought it would do, and continue to drop. And it works out perfectly. So even scalping, if you could have, been in and out in the same minute if you wanted to, or you could have, waited a few minutes. If you waited even just a little bit, scalping would have been great. The main thing with scalping, I'll say it every time I go over scalping, is to always make sure you have your defined risk and your stop set in place, so you know exactly how much you're willing to risk and how much you're willing to lose if things go against you. And one way to do that is to follow me along in the war rooms, and you can still use the stops that I use, which are a little wider than a typical scalper's stops. So your position size will be smaller, your profit will be smaller than if you were just to, go gung-ho on every single trade. Your profit will be smaller than that. However, you will be controlling your risk, and you will be in full control of how much you lose if things go completely 100% against you. So that about wraps it up for this review. This was, again, not looking for the home run. We never are, but sometimes they happen. And this was a perfect example of that. Beautiful, beautiful trade. Beautiful looking trade, looking on the daily chart. Step back into the 1 minute real quick, and you can see throughout the day, remember our trigger, we got triggered right there, and you can see just how beautiful this was and how absolutely perfect this one worked out. They don't always happen this way, but when they do, it is a great feeling. And it just goes to show the importance of being consistent, sticking with a strategy, and sticking with something that you have complete faith in and that you know that works. And that's what we do at Armor Trading Systems. So thank you for watching. If you will, please like, share, and subscribe to this video. I would greatly appreciate it, and God bless.